Amanda Pope is a real estate agent with Ansley Real Estate in Atlanta, Georgia, a Christie's International Real Estate affiliate, and she joins the podcast today. Amanda, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Jeff. I'm glad to be here. Appreciate your time.
Great to have you. I appreciate you taking the time. I want to let listeners know that we're recording on Thursday, September 26th, and we're in the middle of a massive storm rain event that just made landfall last night. Her name is Helene, I think.
I think so.
And
yeah.
You're kind of in the thick of it. So I appreciate you
too.
keeping our appointment.
Yeah,
And
I hope everybody's staying safe.
I hope so too. Amanda, I was really actually, before we begin, I do want to give Kenzie Harkey, the owner of Simply Dare, a professional organizing company with service locations in Atlanta and Charlotte, North Carolina. Want to give Kenzie a shout out and a big thanks for connecting us, for introducing us. She thought you'd be a great guest, and I think she is right. So thanks to
Kenzie
Kenzie.
is wonderful. She is who I recommend for all organization needs. Unpacking, her team is fabulous.
I will have a link, of course, to Kenzie's information in the show notes and description for this episode. Amanda, let's start out with, first of all, you have an MBA, which really intrigued me. So talk about qualifications. You did your undergrad at Georgia, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, yeah.
With business administration and a focus on marketing.
Correct.
I can't think of a better focus of study than that for a real estate agent, and then went on to get an MBA. Tell us a little bit more about yourself before you launched your real estate career. What were you doing?
Sure. So to take it back from the beginning, I am born and raised in Atlanta. It's a city I know and love well. Before getting into real estate, I did a couple things. I was in financial services, so I assisted private wealth advisors with their clients, placing trades, rebalancing, anything client service related. And then I went on to be an executive assistant at HD Supply and worked for two fabulous executives, and got to work very closely with their team of VPs and really enjoyed that. Both had a tailored approach to taking care of people in a little bit different way, but I learned a lot in both those roles. When I got pregnant with my first daughter, who is now 6.5, I started thinking, the legacy that I wanted to leave, what I ultimately wanted to be, my final career path. I kind of felt like that was the time to do it. And probably the last time, frankly, that I would have time to study for anything for 18 plus years. So it turns out I was right. So went to get my real estate license in the evenings while I was working at HD Supply, and took the test a couple months before I had my oldest. And then basically 6 months later went into it full time. And here we are. So I've been licensed for 6 years, and practicing full time for about 5.5.
Really had to kind of burn the candle at both ends there for a little bit while you maintained as we do, for sure.
To pursue a passion.
How many kids do you have?
So I have two kids. I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and both girls. And they are my why. We kind of dig into why we do any career. And I think, especially in one like this that tests you and challenges you daily, and you kind of think, why am I doing this? Why would I choose something that's, again, very challenging day to day? It's those two girls. So I feel like I'm building something for my family.
That's powerful. And that's such a great point, because I think knowing your why is so important and so critical to being able to become a successful real estate agent, because it is hard work.
Yeah, truly.
It takes a lot of time and a lot of sacrifices. How's that balancing your real estate career? And do you find that the real estate path has given you the flexibility? And we say it's funny, I joke. real estate career gives you the flexibility to work 7 days a week.
Yes, I love that, Jeff. Very
But
well said.
but what's the balancing act like?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you ask because, I think a lot of people, what they see of this career is not reality, which, I mean, that's the social media effect, right? Of just life, everything. But I get that question a lot when people are trying to, come from, especially the corporate side, to owning their own business in real estate. Isn't it great? You have so much flexibility. The answer is you don't at all.
Yeah,
It's like pull back the curtain. You really don't. And that's okay. Thankfully, I have a really supportive partner, and he and I just, he backs me up. There is a lot of working on the weekends, a lot of working in the evenings. I always say real estate happens, outside of the 8 to 5, 9 to 5 hours. Because frankly, most of my clients are working those hours. So I am oftentimes the last call of the day and the first person they see on the weekends. So, and again, that's okay, but that is definitely a balancing act. I think I went into real estate knowing that, though. I don't think I knew maybe to the extent that it is, that you have to be, super organized. You have to at times have boundaries and say, I have this piece of time, block of time on the weekends. And it is just quite the balancing act. I never want my kids to think that I'm, choosing business over them. But then I also don't want my clients to think, they're not taken care of because I'm taking care of kids. And I always make it very clear to my clients too that I have full-time childcare. I have set my life up so that I can serve them best and still be the best mom that I can be as well.
I love that. And yeah, it does take, so you kind of you entered the industry eyes wide open for the most part,
I
knowing
did.
that, you're really going to be self-employed. It was going to
Yeah.
be some weird hours and some long days and long weekends.
And I
I
don't know that everybody else does, and not to
mhm.
put anyone down. I think it just, the career looks like what it's not sometimes, frankly. And, we have, selling Sunset to credit for that ruse, but it's a little bit different than what's portrayed on TV.
That's for sure. Yeah, social media has a way of making everything look easy.
Yes,
Yeah, doesn't it?
absolutely. Yeah, we're not
Yeah,
the only career.
and real estate is certainly no exception for sure.
Yeah.
I've other than, of course, real estate agents, we affiliate with a brokerage. We hang our license, so to speak, with a broker of our choosing, and someone who's a good partner that aligns with our personalities and is best for us to work with. So of course we do need to follow their guidelines and their best practices and the way that they do business. And then of course we follow commission rules as well. But other than that, we're really self-employed. I mean, you're really running your own business. And, so I find a lot of successful real estate agents enter the business with very much an entrepreneurial spirit. Was that part of the reason why you entered it as well, being able to kind of develop your business the way you wanted to do it?
Sure. Well, I think it helped that I am very type A. I'm very organized, and I do think that helps. I had a good role model. My dad actually owns his own business. He's a piano technician, and just seeing him, just take care of his clients, frankly, all around Atlanta and develop those relationships. I think that was my appeal to this job. It really is the people that, the reason I got into it. I thought I can really enjoy working with family and friends and past colleagues to do and purchase something, their biggest asset, and walk through these times in their life that are very personal, very vulnerable moments. So I do feel like I have an entrepreneurial spirit. I don't know that that's how, what drives me. I think, my, going back to my why, my girls, but also again, taking care of people, I think drives me even more than that entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah, that call to service,
Yeah,
to stand in service of others. I love that. That
yeah.
one of my favorite authors. That's a quote that I got from him that really resonated with me, and that's what reminded me.
I love
That's
that.
what you just reminded me of.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to one of the reasons I was very excited to have you on the podcast was that you're relatively early in your career, in your journey. You've kind of, you've gotten over that beginner's mountain, so to speak.
Thankfully.
And we talked a little bit before I hit record that the general consensus I find in the industry from successful brokers who've been in the business for, 10 plus years, it's that usually that first 3 years is a real uphill climb, and almost I think new agents almost have to take a vow of poverty. If you take out the last 2 years, 2021, 2022, and most of 2023, which was like basically a 2.5 year spring market for real
Sure.
estate. Other than that, generally speaking, the first few years are pretty tough. And I wanted to ask you, what's kind of top of mind, if you could remember, to your first 3 years, which I'm sure were a whirlwind, like for most of us. But what's top of mind? Some of the lessons that you learned that you found very helpful in kind of building the runway for your business.
Sure. Well, and I think this is a life note, just managing expectations in every area of life. But I think you hit the nail on the head, Jeff, about the 3 year mark. I remember when one of my favorite mentors mentioned that it's going to take 3 years for a new agent on average to feel like they're gaining momentum, starting to see clients, clients return back to them. And I thought, goodness, that's a long time. Because, when you, in the corporate space, and I compare this job a lot to the corporate space, which it's really, you shouldn't do, but just kind of interesting. I feel like it's like 6 months, and then you hit that year mark in corporate America, you're like, okay, I feel like I got it. I know who to go to for this issue, whatever. And there definitely is, the 6 month mark in real estate. You're like, okay, I think I know, how to anticipate certain things. You're still, it's drinking from a fire hose, learning a lot. And then the year mark comes around and you're like, wow, that went really fast. And I still feel like I'm very new. But it really does take 3 years. And I feel like just getting the word out to your sphere that you have, changed careers, that you are, again, trying to serve your network in this very, again, personal way. And I think a lot of people, which I get it, they need to see a track record. I'm grateful that my track, I had, I think I'm at 133 homes sold. I have that in my buyer and seller's guide. I just updated that, since I've started. And that's helpful because people want to know that they're working with an experienced agent. So, your first couple of clients, which I have in my head right now, I will always remember those special ones that, took a risk with me and really trusted me that if I didn't know the answer, I was going to go to my broker. And you best believe I called my broker. He is now my current broker as well, constantly. And he was just such a resource for me. So not only did they get, my little experience, they got his 15-year experience prior. So, leaning on those resources. But it's a It's a slope for sure, kind of getting in there. And again, I think that's also something that people don't see, that you really have to stay in it for about 3 years. And you see, and you probably have the data, I can't remember, a lot of people burn out very quickly. And that's why you see people trying real estate and then they go back to corporate America, and that's okay. But it's just it takes some grit, and it takes staying in it for a bit for things to get those cumulative effects, and to actually feel like you're gaining momentum and this career is going to is going to work.
I love your point about managing expectations. I think that that's really, really important. Did you have a work partner or a mentor in the beginning that you leaned on? Did you split many deals? Did you refer much business? How did you approach your first, say, 12 months in the business?
That's a good question. I credit basically all my success. I think I have a strong work ethic, but so much of my success to my mentors. And excuse me, I had a fabulous mentor when I started, and she was so generous with her time, so generous with just teaching me the things that you don't learn in the pre-licensing class. You can't until you're in there experiencing it. While I think I split like a deal with her, it wasn't, anything that she was even getting paid on, that she really poured into me. To other people that were kind to share their business with me when they weren't able to serve their particular clients. A fabulous broker, a couple of brokers along the way that have just been exceptional, and I would not have lasted. And again, when certain people leave the industry, I think that's a lot of not having those great mentors that selflessly pour into you. I mean, they don't get anything from it, and just really support you through those critical years. I owe so much to these people that I'm forever indebted to.
I agree. I have the same feeling about my broker in charge, who has really been so patient and dedicated so much time to helping me over the short time that I've been licensed. So, and she's been, she's probably definitely not doing it for the money, right?
Yeah.
Because if she was, she'd be
Losing
selling
money.
yeah, exactly. I would, my advice as someone who's pretty green in the industry, new to the industry, been a marketing professional for a couple decades, but newly licensed real estate agent, and I would say my advice would be along those lines of what you said. As you're interviewing potential brokerages, to places to affiliate with and hang your license, to not only, it's important that you share or that what you're going to bring to the table, what you offer, what you can offer that brokerage, but also really ask, what are they going to offer? How much time will they be able to spend with you to bring you up to speed, to answer your questions? Will they be able to meet weekly? Those are important things to consider as you start out, as I learned the hard way.
Absolutely.
So I'm now with my second broker.
Okay.
Nothing against the first one, but my current one has been a night and day difference. So it's been really awesome.
I'm glad you found that. It really, again, it makes the difference. Absolutely.
You mentioned too that I may have the data on real estate burnout. I don't. That's something I should have. That would be an interesting statistic to look up. So I'm going to do my best to find some data on that, because that is a real thing for sure.
I remember that was shared actually in my Barney Fletcher pre-licensing course, and I think all of us were kind of like, oh gosh, well, oh, wow, okay, well, so one of us is going to be here, so it's kind of like, oh God. It's kind of frightening, but it's just the reality.
Yeah, it's just like any other small business, really, in the grand scheme of things.
Sure.
You know, there's about a 90% chance that a small business will not make it past a 10-year mark.
Yeah.
And I think the same is true for real estate brokers or in agents, whether or not they come into the industry eyes wide open, knowing what, you know, with the correct expectations or not. That
Yeah.
certainly helps for sure. The other thing the other analogy I would use for a real estate agent is building that runway for your business before you try to take off. Don't try to build the airplane while you're going down the runway or flying through the air, right? You really need some resources saved up
Yep.
to get you through those early 6, 12, 18 months. Because once you're licensed, you affiliate with a broker, there's a very good chance you won't get your first paycheck until 6 or 12 months down the road.
Yeah, I think that's yeah a good reality. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great analogy.
What about helpful resources?
Sure.
Amanda, I'd be curious if, other than, of course, Epic Agents podcast, what what are some great resources? I'm a book guy. I love.
Yeah.
I've consumed a lot of books.
Yeah.
I always lean on a great author.
Yeah.
I do a lot of audiobooks, but I
Okay.
also the ones that I really like and go back to time and time again. I'll buy the hardcover or the paperback, and it'll end up on my nightstand.
Yeah.
But I do love books. Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah. Two books. Two books and a sales course. I think are probably my top recommendations. Never Split the Difference, Chris Voss. I also listened to that on audio, and it's just great. Us real estate agents, as you know, we're driving around a lot in the car, so that's our time to read.
Yes.
So that's a great one. I listened to that probably about 3 months ago now. The Art of Negotiation, Tim Castle, is very helpful as well. And probably my, excuse me, my absolute number one recommendation for any new agent. I know certain brokerages offer this. It's the ninja selling model, and I did this about 4 or 5 years ago when I got when I was newer, and I remember it was just a crazy week. But I was in this class, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a waste of time, and I was frustrated because I was trying to serve my clients, and again, it's just to be tied up for a week is a long time, and to put a realtor in a classroom setting is interesting, to say the least. So we were all in it together, but it was fabulous. And I will have to be honest, I don't think I realized how influential that sales course was until maybe 6 months, maybe a year later. And I started to regurgitate the information, the suggestions, and I was like, well, ninja selling says that, and ninja selling, they would describe this, or present this to our clients in this way. And I even recently, earlier this spring, did like a kind of a reboot, a day reboot of the ninja selling. That was also fabulous. It's a course out of Colorado, and both my brokerages that I've been with have enlisted their help. In the metro Atlanta area, a lot of realtors know this ninja selling, but it was life-changing. And you don't have to take everything they say and implement it, because it is a lot, but it goes through writing letters to your clients. It goes through projecting your business. Again, if we're going back to managing your expectations, it is just incredible. I can't recommend it enough. Ninja selling. I'm not getting paid by them.
This is not a paid endorsement. My brokerage is also affiliated or associated with or contracted with the Ninja Selling Program. And I haven't taken the courses yet myself, but they speak so highly of it. And I know a lot of agents in the Charlotte area where I'm based, the Charlotte metro area, also are very familiar with the Ninja Selling system.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll have a link, of course, to their information in the description too. And it sounds amazing. I can't wait to get started
should
on
do
that.
it.
That sounds like something I need to dive into and would get a lot out of.
Yeah, it really puts structure around a job, a career that again there is no structure. So and you create yourself, so it's a little less overwhelming hearing what's worked for people and again kind of taking a little bit from their process.
You mentioned that we're in the car a lot, and especially when you're in an area like Atlanta or Charlotte, where I am as well, we do a lot of time sitting still in our car in,
Yep.
in traffic. Not nearly as bad as Washington, D.C.,
Yeah.
where I lived for quite a while. So
That's true.
I try to remind myself when I'm sitting on I-77 in bumper-to-bumper traffic that this is still better
Could
than
be
the
worse.
Beltway.
Yes.
It's still better than the D.C. Beltway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I consume. That's the reason why I end up consuming a lot of podcasts and audiobooks too. Is that time in the car?
Sure.
That sort of that found time.
Yeah.
Amanda, thank you so much for joining the podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I know how busy you are, along with every agent that joins this podcast. So it's really means a lot to me because I know how valuable your time is.
Well, thanks for having me. It was
Of
an honor.
course.
I really enjoyed it. Love talking to you.
Before we close, share with listeners how they can learn more about you and connect with you.
Yeah, I am very active on social media. Instagram is probably the easiest. It's very simply my name, Amanda Pope _ Realtor. You can find me there, and my website is there. I'm also on Facebook, but yeah, I would lead you to Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn as well. I find that's a good place to keep in touch with past colleagues. So a Google business page, Amanda Pope, Ansley Real Estate. So would love to connect with our listeners.
I'll have the links in the description for this episode and also the title and authors. I glossed over that. Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss is an incredible read. Definitely recommend that. That's been recommended a lot on this podcast and other podcasts that I produce that are small business related. And that's how it came on my radar. And I've gone through that a couple of times over the last 3 or 4 years, and it's excellent read.
Yeah.
The Art of Negotiation, I'm embarrassed to say I'm not familiar with that title. That sounds like another one that should be on a real estate agent's short list of reading materials. So I'll have both of those titles and authors in the description as well. Would encourage listeners to check them out.
Awesome.
Amanda, again, thanks so much. Amanda Pope is a real estate agent with Ansley Real Estate Atlanta, a Christie's International Real Estate affiliate. Find all her contact info in the descriptions and show notes for this episode. Amanda, thanks again.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Stay safe out there.
You too.
Thanks.